This final recording is not about any advanced functions, but it is about an advanced technique called protecting worksheets and workbooks. You can prevent users from accidentally making changes to things that they shouldn't be changing. For instance, I created a spreadsheet for my mom to help her with her budget, and I put a bunch of formulas in there. And she's not a very experienced Excel user, so about every couple weeks or so she would call me and say, I need help. I somehow have mangled my worksheet, I've deleted these formulas or something, and I can't get them back again. What I did to solve that problem, first of all, sent her a new spreadsheet, but what I did to solve that problem is locked certain cells on her spreadsheet so that she couldn't change them. The only ones she was allowed to change were the ones where she was entering her budget data, and that's resolved the issues. I haven't seen her since. I'm sorry, I haven't heard any problems since. Protecting worksheets in Excel is a little, I don't know, backwards is the right word. You don't lock cells, you unlock them. And to kind of explain this and maybe give you a picture for it, the way I picture it is it's kind of like a cell block in a jail. So here's our MSTC jail. We've got 3 inmates. And of course, when the guards throw the big switch, all the gates close and our inmates are locked in. One switch does it all, and it just locks everything. And that's kind of how Excel works, at least initially when you create your spreadsheet. It locks every single cell in the worksheet. So how do we then unlock them? To unlock them, you remove the lock from a cell. So in this case, this is the old guy. Maybe he's 80 years old. We're not too worried about him escaping. He's been good for 20 years. He's not going to cause any trouble. So I've removed the lock from his cell. And now when I flip the switch, his remains unlocked and he can roam around. This is kind of the same concept that we're going to use in Excel. We're going to remove the locks from the cells that we want the users to be able to change. And then we're going to throw the big switch and lock everything that has a lock still on it. All right, to demonstrate this, I'm going to use 2 spreadsheets. I'm going to use the GPA calculator spreadsheet that we created in the first 5 or 6 recordings, and I'm also going to use the financial payment spreadsheet that we created in the last recording, just to demonstrate and repeat these concepts. So let me start with the GPA calculator. And now I have to take a look at all this stuff and say, now, where do I want the user on this sheet? What cells do I want the user to be able to change? My advice, only the ones where they type data. No titles, no captions, no formulas. All of this stuff is formulas. Remember, these are lookups. These are lookups. Everything is a formula here except this cell. So in this cell, what I want to do is remove the lock so that when I throw the big switch, this cell remains available for the user to use. So I'm going to right-click on this cell, and I'm going to format cells. You can also do that from the Home tab someplace. I think you can go to on the Home tab. I don't even remember which one. There it is, Format. And that'll bring you into here. I like to right-click. It's just a little simpler. And then go to the Protection tab. In the Protection tab, this cell is locked. Every cell in your worksheet, by default, has a lock on it. That's what this means. It's not locked. This means it has a lock on it. Just remove the lock, just like I did on the old man's cell gate. And now I click on OK. Now that doesn't throw the master switch. You still have to throw the master switch. To throw the switch, we go to Data. Review. There it is. And we protect the sheet. Now that protects this sheet, and that clicking that button is just like throwing that big switch that closed all the cell blocks in my jail. A couple of options that you can choose from. You can choose a password. So what I did for my mom is I put a password on it. So even if she accidentally gets to protect sheets, you still can't unlock it. And then after the first time, I took the protection off, or the password off, because she didn't know how to get there. And if she did mess something up, or if I did need to make changes, I could just have her click this to unprotect it. These checkboxes designate what you can allow, what the user is allowed to do with the locked cells. They can select them. Okay? They can select the unlocked cells. They can format cells. I have one spreadsheet where occasionally I want to format stuff that's locked. Okay? Maybe add a comment to it. Normally all I do is leave the default ones selected. That's all I need to do with, that's all I want my user to do with the locked cells. I don't really have any need to delete rows and columns and format stuff. They should just be typing in data and seeing the results. So I'm just going to leave it the way it is, no passwords. For your homework assignments, please do exactly the same thing. No password, leave these the same. So now the sheet is protected. I can enter a new value in here. Pick a different student, and all my formulas update like they did before. But if I accidentally come in here and say, no, that person took 8 credits and try to type in here, oops, I get an error message that says you cannot change this sheet because this worksheet is protected. And there's really nothing much we can do here. You cannot change the message. It's a little bit complicated, but it does tell you how to unprotect the sheet should you need to. But there's no way to customize this, but it does tell the user that the worksheet's protected, and even the empty cells, if I try to type something in there, is protected. But it's just that sheet. If I go to grade records, I might want to unprotect or unlock these cells. I'm sorry, these cells, because these are calculated, so I could highlight them all. There's a bunch, come on. There it is. Highlight it all, right click, format, and remove the lock. Okay. And then protect the worksheet, same way. But what I discovered when I did this is if you lock a worksheet that has, I just did that backwards, didn't I? I did. So let's do it one more time. Let's undo that. Okay, go back to grade records, see what I got. Let's unprotect this sheet, and since it's protected, let's try undoing here. Oh, I made a mess. Apologize. Let's see what my protections are here. I'm going to select all of these, shift and down arrow. That's a little quicker. Right click, format the cells, and lock these because those are formulas. The ones I want to unlock are the other ones. Looks like I missed a few, but you get the idea. Shift and down arrow, and I want to unlock these. When I protect the sheet, what I discovered is that if you have a worksheet with a table in it and you try to protect it, the table itself is locked and there's nothing you can do about it. There used to be a little handle down here that says expand my table. Used to be if we added new records in here, they would turn blue. Now in this case, because I can't add records because I locked these. My solution was select the entire column, right click, format the cells, oops, locked, can't even change it, right click, format the cells. Some are locked, that's what this designates, some are locked, some aren't. I'm going to unlock them all, protect the sheet. And now when I come in here, I can add a new row, but notice it doesn't turn blue, and this is no longer part of the table. Did a little research. Bottom line is you cannot protect a sheet with a table on it. So I'm going to unprotect this sheet so that I can continue to add rows as I go, and notice my table resizing handle comes back. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind if you're using tables. So now I'm going to switch real quick just to repeat this process to the financial worksheet. And here's my payment worksheet, and I want the user to be able to enter this data. I'm highlighting, I'm going to remove the locks from what I want my user to be able to enter, and this data. I'm having trouble doing multiple selections. There we go. And now I want to right click, format the cells, remove the locks, click on OK, and then under review, protect the sheet. If the user wants to borrow $15,000, they can enter data, but if they try to enter something in here, they get the error message. So that's the concept of adding and removing locks. I can do the same thing for these other worksheets just so I get good at it here. Format the cells, remove the locks. Now just because I locked the payment sheet doesn't mean that the future value sheet is locked, so I need to protect that sheet. and then go to the end per, and I had a couple of things here that we could change. Sorry. This is a side effect of using a Mac to test this stuff. Right click, format cells, locked, and protect that sheet. I don't have any spreadsheets with charts in them, so I can't demonstrate that, but if you put your charts in a worksheet, they'll be locked. If you put your charts in a chart sheet, you can lock the sheet. That'll be locked. But the last thing the user could still accidentally do is come in here, right click, and delete my actual sheet. That's no good. So what I need to do is protect the workbook. Real simple. Again, in the review tab, protect the workbook. Are you sure? Yes. Again, an optional password. And now if we right click down here, they can't do anything. I can select them. I can view some code. I have no idea what that means. I can unprotect the sheet from here. But I can't delete, and I can't move these. I can't do much of anything to them, including changing tab colors. I can't do anything when the workbook is protected. So that's a toggle. Notice it's green. It stays lit. That designates that this workbook is locked. If you want to make any changes to the tabs, you have to unlock the workbook. If you want to make changes here, you can still make your changes. So if I need $4,000 for my TV instead, it recalculates. All that stuff still works even though the worksheet is locked. What we mean, or workbook is locked. What we mean by workbook is locked is that you can't add or remove sheets. Everything else is sheet protection. We had to remove the locks. Do one more quick time here since I'm going pretty quick. Here's my calculate worksheet. My students. This is my lookup table. That's a table. Probably want to leave it alone and not lock the sheet so that if we want to add more students, we can do it. My lookups tab, however, this should be pretty fixed. I'm not going to be adding any more grades. If I am, I can unprotect the sheet. And I don't want the user changing anything, so I'm going to protect the sheet. And now the user won't be able to change anything in this worksheet at all. Can't add anything. Okay. So if I want to add grades or if I want to add more credit fees, I'm going to have to unprotect that sheet to do it. And the final step is I should protect the workbook so that the user can't change the order or the sheets that are involved here. So that's protection. Pretty simple. Highlight the cells that you, oh, I forgot one. I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to go back to my GPA cards and I'm going to unprotect, missed, GPA calculator. No, that's not the one I want. I want to go back to my financial calculator and I'm going to go back to the payment function. I'm going to unprotect the sheet. And I'm going to take the lock, put the locks back on here again and show you a different way of removing locks. So now they're locked again. All right. And you'll notice in a review tab, and this is new, I think it was in Excel 2010, I hadn't seen it before. But now here's a button that allows you to designate which range of cells the user is allowed to edit. So it's a different way of doing it. Click on that, and I'm going to add a new range, and I'm going to call it inputs. You don't even have to give it a name. It's already selected those. Okay, and I also want to select these, so let's see how it goes. It let me do it. Okay, F3 to F6, B3 to B5. All of those, and I can put in a password if I want to, and then I'm all set. I can apply that, click on OK. Could have protected the sheet right from there. Right now the sheet's not protected. I can change stuff here, so I can start typing, press escape. But if I protect the sheet, these cells, because of that allow user to edit ranges, these cells can be changed, but these cannot. So that's another way that you can select the range of cells that the user is allowed to edit by using this feature instead of format and removing the locks. Very powerful, particularly when you're using worksheets and sharing them with other people who could damage the worksheet and then you need to get a new copy.